Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great. Today we are in the great state of Illinois and we are headed to the town of Bloomington, fresh off the heels of going to the Judy Garland Childhood Home and Museum. This is tied in pretty heavily, so I thought this would be a great time to go. Don't worry, our little buddy's here. My Toto. Here we go. Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. There's a very fascinating grave here. A young girl who made quite an impression. See, there's a plaque here and a big monument back here. And it says Dorothy Louise Gage. Little Dorothy was born to Sophie Jewell and Thomas C. Gage. 5 months later, the family was devastated by her death. Shortly after this, Thomas and Sophie left Bloomington for Aberdeen, South Dakota. Dorothy's uncle, L. Frank Baum, named the main character for Dorothy in his book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, to give small comfort to his wife, Maud. In 2017, it was decided that the tree had to come down. Bill Baker, top-notch chainsaw carving, was asked to take on the job of carving Dorothy, Toto, and the yellow brick road from the tree. The stump was carved in June of 2018 into the beautiful tribute, Little Dorothy and How She Forever Affected Children's Literature. Now, I'm a little confused because what I had read, someone had posted online, was they were saying that after the filming of The Wizard of Oz, Munchkin actor Mickey Carroll retired from acting and moved to Missouri and started making cemetery monuments. And when he learned of the disrepair that Dorothy's grave was in, that he had made a headstone. So check this out. This is amazing. This wood carving is amazing. But I believe the headstone over here was what they're talking about that Mickey made. Now this is elaborate. For a 5-month-old, didn't get to have, you know, any kind of life, to be memorialized in a famous book like The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and then, of course, movie that everyone loves, a cult classic. There she is. There's Dorothy. Now when they say the yellow brick road, look at this. Look how elaborate this really is. He put the yellow brick road down here. And then there is Toto and Dorothy Gale. So the real little girl's name was Dorothy Gage. But he changed it to Dorothy Gale. The actual grave of Dorothy Gage is over here. I don't want you to think that this is the actual grave. That was an old tree that they decided to turn into a memorial for her. But the actual grave is right over here in between two bushes by this tree. So we definitely want to go and pay our respects. Also made into a silent movie, which is also an interesting watch. If you've never seen the silent movie version of The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy Louise Gage, June 11th, 1898 to November 11th, 1898. Niece of Mr. and Mrs. L. Frank Baum. Namesake for Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, I believe that makes sense that that would have been the one made by Mickey, because Obviously, an original headstone that they would have had for her would not have referred to her as the namesake for the Wizard of Oz. So, thought that was really interesting. Definitely worth stopping and visiting. And right behind, on the back side, what we just looked at, looks like this was the original daughter of Mr. and Mrs. T.C. Gage. It had to be sad to move their life along, move states, and leave her behind, leave her grave here. You know, it's got to be sad as a parent. But we're gonna head a little further into Illinois. There's another statue that I want to stop and take a look at. I head over to the town of Champaign. I believe that's what it's called. So I made it to Champaign, Illinois, and I want to tell you a little bit about the history of this theater behind us and someone whose life was actually changed here. This is the Virginia Theater. You can actually see A.J. Croce. Jim Croce's son is going to be here performing, but there's a statue over here in a seat, and I think it's going to tell the story that I want to tell, so let's go there and check it out. You see, this is the home of the University of Illinois, and a man who was raised here in town in Urbana attended University of Illinois and became a famous film critic, is sitting right here with his solar glasses on in a seat, given the thumbs up, for which he's famous for. Roger Ebert, famed Siskel and Ebert, inventors of the thumbs up, thumbs down. Well, let's see what it says here. Roger Joseph Ebert, June 18th, 1942 to April 4th, 2013, renowned film critic, co-star of the At the Movies television series with Gene Siskel and son of Urbana. Roger Ebert changed the way people thought about movies. University of Illinois graduate, was the film critic for the Chicago Sun-Times for 46 years. He was the first journalist to win the Pulitzer Prize for film criticism, to be inducted as an honorary member of the Directors Guild of America, to receive the American Society of Cinematographers Award, and to have his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and at the Chicago Theater. He also received the highest honor from the state of Illinois, the Order of Lincoln. In 1998, he and his wife Chaz brought the Ebert Film Fest to this hometown. He said that empathy was one of the most important aspects of civilization, and that movies were a giant empathy machine. He was a visionary, mentor, and technologist, and a loving husband and family man. How very, very cool of the town. It says Virginia. There's the V for the Virginia Theater. So I found an interview where he was basically telling that his father, this theater had been around for a very long time. His father actually saw the Marx Brothers perform here on the stage. He said that he saw a lot of movies here, and that this place was, he believed in like saving beacons, and he said this theater would cost a fortune to replace. So yeah, when this was kind of falling in disrepair, he brought his film festival here. It was a big hit. And the city, at the time, the mayor of this city was a big proponent of films and helped get some money allocated to the theater so that they could refurbish it and make sure that it lasts a very long time. It's a performance theater. And Roger said that, you know, he just kind of, when he grew up here, this is the town that he would see Citizen Kane and all the foreign movies that he loved. He was a big proponent of all movies, but he really loved black and white movies. He would say that, you know, you live your life in color. So watching a color movie is just watching something real. When you watch something in black and white, it really takes on a style, and it takes away the color. It makes you feel a character about it. And he said, you know, when color was introduced, a lot of the directors were still choosing to do black and white, and so he wishes more people would do that. And he also said he thought that a little bit of the decline of cinema was that people were just getting a short attention span, that movies and TV were made for people with a short attention span. They couldn't handle a long scene. He would talk about MTV being an example. He said, you know, most of the clips on there are like 5-second clips. So he felt like, you know, there was an art to cinema. He would grow up watching it here, and then, like it said in there, he was actually the film critic for the Chicago Sun-Times for 46 years. The way that happened was he actually received a job for the Sun-Times as a feature writer, and then their film critic retired and they offered him the job, so it was just a stroke of luck. But he said that he always saw himself as a writer, as like a written critic more than TV. He would say that, you know, even though a lot of people knew him from seeing him on TV, that was only 20% of most of the work that he did. And you know, I'm gonna take this off because this is kind of silly, at least for now. I think I'm gonna see his eyes. Yeah, he said that he got into it to write. He was inspired by the film critic from Esquire, and he liked the way he wrote confidently, and so that was the way that he would get into it. He would write that way. Then got a PBS show and was doing film reviews, and he and Gene Siskel became very famous together, but he never really, it was crazy. When he would be asked, are you guys friends, are you enemies, he would kind of say yes about both. When Gene Siskel died of cancer, Roger called him a brother, but said oftentimes they didn't agree on things, and in a lot of ways. But it was kind of crazy because Roger Ebert, I mentioned, said he always kind of saw himself as more of a written critic. And 3 years after Gene Siskel died of cancer, Roger also was diagnosed with cancer, and his was actually thyroid and gland. So sadly, they actually ended up having to remove his jaw. And for the rest of his life, he would end up continuing to be a critic and write articles and everything, but he had to do it on a typewriter that would speak for him. He no longer could speak, he no longer could eat. All of those were taken away from him. The only way he could communicate was through this computer that would have a computer generated voice that would speak for him. And then his wife Chaz actually would help him when he thought he was going to have to retire. She said, no, you know, you can continue on. And so he continued on as long as he absolutely humanly possibly could, and left a great legacy. He continued the show after Gene passed away for a little while, doing the Ebert and Roper. I think everybody knows him primarily from the Siskel and Ebert show. It's so cool that the town did this for him, has this statue, because he loved this town. He frequently came back. His father was the electrician for the university that he attended, and he said his father actually helped physically build the municipal stadium. So his roots here in town went back very far, and it's nice to see that he was able to help the theater survive, and he's always here giving the thumbs up. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a day. I hope you enjoyed our vlog today, exploring a little bit of Central Illinois. Have a great night, and goodbye.